30 boats and all the
When
other
does Satoshi come up on the
other than
hurricane
one
naming
under
list?
construction.
Hey, I'm here.
By miles
When
from
is
the
this gonna
work site.
happen?
Hey, I'm here.
Oh, you all.
Why isn't that not open?
I don't believe you.
I'm Ryan Voltz. I'm Vice President of the club. If you haven't signed in, make sure to do that. btcrit.com/sign in. So that way we can get you on the mailing list and all that. So the beginning of the Bible is, in the beginning God created earth. We have ships on the brink of second fell up for banks. It's a little bit less poetic, but this article obviously isn't the Genesis block, but in the Genesis block itself, this article is quoted, the title. So the Genesis block, for those of you who don't know, is the first block of the blockchain. The way a blockchain works is each block has to have essentially a pointer to the block before it, and there obviously has to be a first one. So the Genesis block was created by Satoshi Nakamoto. I think I'm saying that right. It was the first block that was created, and it was created by hand. And in the text of the block included this quote, probably to prove that it came after this article was released, which was January 3rd, 2009. Do you have a question? Okay. So yeah, because of the technical implementation of the block, the money that he would have received this block couldn't be spent just due to a technicality. But this is essentially the start of the blockchain. No matter what you do in any blockchain implementation, the code for this block has to be hard-coded, because otherwise they don't know where to start. You could say, I'm starting my own chain right now, and there's technically no difference between my chain and that chain, other than that chain is longer and it's accepted by everyone. So Bitcoin kept going for a couple months. It started gaining a little bit of popularity. 22nd of May 2010 was one date. Company, I believe it was this company, eGifter, unless this was a spoof of it. They decided to say, hey, Bitcoin is becoming a thing, it's becoming a currency, let's kind of adopt this. They decided to say, hey, today, May 22nd, we were going to sell a pizza for, I think it was about $30 at the time.
Well, I was just gonna say that, no, actually, that company or whatever didn't start it. It was just two people, and like, these two guys knew each other on the forum or whatever.
Okay.
And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
if you give me 10,000 BTC, I'll order you a pizza to be delivered to your house. But
Yeah.
this is like a memorial.
Okay.
Because
So
notice
what
how it
is
says
this?
Bitcoin Pizza Day? That means they did it on a later year on the same date.
So ignore this.
$30 a
But yeah, essentially,
Yeah,
you
that's-
explained it pretty well. It was two guys who wanted to buy pizza, and it was completely possible with blockchain. The value of Bitcoin was a lot lower back then. This was like a couple dollars, something like that. I think now, I just looked it up, it was about $60 million for this pizza. I don't know about you, but that's a little more than I'm willing to pay for a pizza.
Yeah, that's around 60 million.
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice pizza.
Yeah, but that just goes to show the enormous increase in value of Bitcoin. It's been like 9.5 years since this happened. Bitcoin itself isn't even 10 years old. So when you think of how far it came, when back then it was just, hey, I'll buy you a pizza. Because essentially it was just, I'll buy you a pizza if you give me this currency. It goes to show how like legitimate it's become since then. And every year it's kind of remembered that, oh yeah, that's the day that somebody paid $60 million for a pizza. So this is something I looked up recently, December 13th, 2010. This is the last time Satoshi's forum account was accessed.
Oh.
Satoshi Nakamoto was the creator of Bitcoin. It's not actually, we don't actually know his identity, no one knows for sure. There are people who claim to have been Satoshi Nakamoto. There's people whose names have come up as Satoshi Nakamoto. There's theories that he died in a car accident. There's theories that he's just disappeared. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories. But essentially the last known contact, as far as I'm aware, was this forum from December 2010. And it's crazy that Nakamoto, this is, what, a year after, or 2 years after? No, a year after the Genesis block, approximately.
Yeah.
No, 2 years, I'm getting the date wrong. But 2 years after the Genesis block. So the majority of Bitcoin's development, the creator wasn't involved at all. So it's crazy how it's gone on, essentially on its own, to be its own thing, with different people contributing, different development teams coming up and things like that. So we skip ahead, I think actually a couple days. Or not the same thing. I might have copied these guys wrong.
I think they were 2014, I think.
I might have copied the wrong date on this.
Yeah.
I was terrible at making these slides. Ethereum joins the battle. Ethereum is kind of a competitive Bitcoin, if you can call it a competitor. It's an alternative coin. Ethereum, I don't understand a ton about it personally, but it goes off of smart contracts and things like that. So it's not strictly for the use of Bitcoin, which is I pay you money. This also goes into like coding and a lot more applications for it. So if you fast forward about a year, a little bit, there is a Bitcoin exchange, one of the largest, called Mt. Gox. This was a large Bitcoin exchange in Japan, and it had a lot of financial troubles. With this one, these blue circles represent trades that happened. So like right here, there were some trades for $15 per Bitcoin, which sounds like not much right now. The larger the circle, the more trades happened. So that happened. That's not good. It shouldn't drop like that. Essentially what later came out to happen was a hacker gained access to at least some or all of their private keys, decided to change the price of the Bitcoin to 1 cent, post them online and buy them all. So that's why you get this essentially explosion of Bitcoin transactions for a very low amount. So I think this goes to show that even though Bitcoin itself is decentralized, I can run a wallet on my phone, not connected to anyone, not trusting anyone. I think people inherently have to trust someone because it's easier. It's easier to say, oh, I'll just pay them some money and get some Bitcoin. But that does require you placing trust in them. Even though if you're buying Bitcoin from Mt. Gox, even though Bitcoin itself is completely decentralized, you don't need to trust anyone, you have to trust that you're paying Mt. Gox and they say, oh, there's some Bitcoin in your account. You have to trust that it's actually there in your account, which sometimes you can verify that, sometimes you can't. You have to trust that the company actually knows what they're doing. The website literally just displayed an error page.
It's not even good.
It was later revealed that I believe 700,000? I have the number right here. Yeah, they lost 744,000 Bitcoin in a theft. People stole their private keys and have been slowly draining them over the years, and they didn't notice. Just for comparison, if this happened today, it would be $4.7 trillion.
Oh shit.
Yep, if you took the value of all that Bitcoin, I converted it 4.7 trillion.
What?
It's greater than the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies.
I thought it was 177 trillion for Bitcoin.
Billion.
That's more than the
Billion?
market cap of the entire world.
Reverse that billions then.
Okay, that's better, that's better.
That's still a lot of money. That's
That's
still,
Yeah.
if this had been transferred to my account, I would not be here. But yeah,
Dr. Evil.
it's just more and more problems with Mt. Gox.
No, I
And
haven't seen
this combined with the Silk Road created a lot of distrust of Bitcoin. People not thinking that, oh, this is just a coin that's used by criminals. And I know I did a report on this, I believe in 2016. And one thing that I know a lot of my friends said, why do you want like private money if you have nothing to hide, or if you don't have anything to hide, why are you hiding? So that contributed to all this negative press of Bitcoin. People saw Bitcoin as a negative thing, which technically doesn't sound on a protocol level. Even then, like, you have to get Bitcoin from somewhere. You're not gonna, most people aren't going to just mine Bitcoin for a living. So that's why you see these big centralized exchanges, and then when they fail, there's kind of nothing to hold on to at the protocol level. Did you have a question, Sergio?
I was gonna ask how the Silk Road impacted people's trust in Bitcoin. I guess things like all the criminals.
Yeah. I'm not very familiar with the Silk Road at all, how that all worked.
What's your question again?
I was curious how the Silk Road impacted the trustworthiness of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but I guess it's because like like,
Mm.
like crime and drugs.
It's hard to measure, but a lot of people after this crash in 2012 and 13 basically just associated Bitcoin's use case with
Bitcoin joins Unicode. 20th of June, Unicode 10 is passed release, I'm not sure exactly the word. This symbol is in Unicode. The Bitcoin symbol was added to the Unicode standard, so it can be typed like any other character. Effectively, just like emoji that started out as, a symbol for something, and now it's just.
I mean, Japan invented emojis.
Right. And then America said, hey, we want that too, but that's like neat about it. But this again goes to show, this was a year and a half ago, just how like mainstream it was getting. It's to the point where, like, one of the world's largest organizations said, hey, we should add this symbol so that people can type it. And that's how important it was getting. There isn't a symbol for RIT or something like that. You need to be very important in your own typeable symbol. Do I have any questions at this point? Okay. I couldn't even make multiple slides about this because this was such a chaotic couple of weeks. End of July, beginning of August 2017, I can almost do an entire presentation just on what happened these couple of days. So this was a relative culmination of the SegWit 2x, like the SegWit 2x agreement that I talked about earlier, just general instability, people wanting to do their own thing. So the first of, I guess I'll talk about this first. The 1st of August, a bunch of people said, hey, the SegWit 2x thing isn't going well. SegWit's not gonna work, this isn't gonna work, we need to force this. The rule for SegWit for voting was that 95% of the blocks in, I think, a 2-week period, I'm not exactly sure on that one, it was a 95% of blocks needed to say, yes, we should do SegWit before it happened, and that number was hovering, I believe, around 85. So it wasn't happening. So a bunch of people got together and said, hey, let's do something called user-activated hard fork, I believe. Yeah, user-activated hard fork.
soft fork.
Soft fork?
User active, yeah.
Soft fork, okay.
Yep.
UASF. I was thinking that was a different thing.
Yep.
The UASF said, on August 1st, SegWit is activated, period, to end the schedule. I don't care what anyone else thinks. We are going to say SegWit is activated. So if there's a group of people that say SegWit is activated, SegWit isn't activated, those blocks are going to be different. Blocks on this side are going to be invalid on this side, so you're going to create what's called a fork. In addition, the SegWit, there was another elite one, I want to say, that was saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to vote if we get 80% of people that want SegWit, we are going to say, hey, now reject any non-SegWit blocks. So that way, the bar is lower, and there was still a way to enforce a democratic consensus. And then there were people who just didn't want any of this, that said, oh, Bitcoin should just continue as normal. There should be no SegWit, there should be no doubling, anything like that. So we came to a point where for a couple weeks, no one knew what was happening. We had a point where people were preparing for 3 Bitcoins to exist. We had a point where people were thinking the whole thing was just gonna crash and burn.
So the third one would be the UASF coin.
Right,
The second one would be SegWit 2x, and the third one would be
the classic Bitcoin.
the original.
Yeah.
Right? Original.
Bitcoin Classic. I think that's the nomenclature that's typically used.
No, wait. The 3-way fork was supposed to be like okay, so SegWit, within which there's SegWit 2x and UASF, and then non-SegWit.
Right.
That was what people thought was going to happen.
Yeah. But the SegWit fork did end up winning.
SegWit 2x to be specific.
So the SegWit 2x fork did end up winning. And then Bitcoin Cash, I believe, split off of that. Was that from the user-activated software?
Look, I have, look.
It was such
I have a presentation which I did last semester about this, so let me reference this. Okay.
It's a confusing couple of weeks finding documentation on what actually happened.
So look, so segregated witness was going to activate because of VIP 100 or whatever it was called. So part of that was user activated sub fork, which, okay, so that, I need to draw a diagram.
Yeah. Yeah, like, this is just a mess of a couple weeks.
So this is what could have happened, okay? So actually what this is like VIP 100. Okay, this says that after, you know, if we have like, I don't remember what it was exactly, but let's say that if it's at a 90% threshold, if 90 out of the last 1,000 blocks are, you know, in support, then all of them must, all new ones have to support it. Okay, so this was basically the lock-in. This means lock-in. Okay, now, this is what could have potentially happened. UASF was just saying, okay, after block, you know, 4,000, 40,000 X, it's some number, all have to be SegWit. And so the thing is like, and then 100 for VIP 100, then like, you know, another thousands blocks pass, and then everything has to be SegWit. So what could have potentially happened here was that this would have come before this happened. Okay, so if the UASF, if this, you know, absolute number block comes before this relative number block, that would have caused a split between UASF and everybody else, and then that would have been an additional split from the non-SegWit. So this would have been the three-way fork, potentially. But it didn't happen because this came before block 40,000 XXX. So that's why this was, UASF was avoided.
What is 40,000?
It was
The-
some number, I don't know, remember what it was.
I think it was supposed to be targeting arms first, if I remember correctly.
But is the 40,000 the target?
Block height.
No, I mean, is that number when
It's specific.
the
It was-
target is recalculated?
No.
Like, what's the importance of 40,000, whatever?
That's when UASF would have
Okay, got it.
activated.
They basically sat at a table and said, okay, at this number,
Oh, got it.
SegWit will happen. I don't care who thinks it will, I don't care who thinks it won't. Anyone who says it won't, we'll just ignore. And essentially, if your block is ignored by a more than 50% of the number, it didn't happen. So yeah, and then the bit 100 was the more kind of soft approach that if we want it, we'll go for it. And that was to turn on the 95% that originally happened. It's a lot of people competing to see what will happen. And since it's decentralized, this kind of thing can happen. Because no one's in charge. Like 51% of the network, if you can make that, you're in charge. But no one person is able to say, this should happen this should happen now. No one's able to say, this is happening now. It's just, the user activated software was just, somebody made a rule and said, hey, you should follow my rule that said, after this point in time, non-SegWit blocks are blocked. The VIP 100 was a rule that someone made that said, hey,
It was VIP 91.
91,000.
I forgot.
The VIP 91 was someone sat down and made a rule that said, hey, once we hit, I was thinking it was 80%, not 90.
It was, I made up a bunch of numbers
Yeah.
here, just trying to get the general idea across quickly.
But the VIP 91 said, once we are close enough, we reject all non-SegWit blocks. The SegWit rule was that you have to hit 95%. So there's a whole bunch of people trying to bump them up to that 95%, or in this case, 100%. So it's, oh god,
How many nodes are,
It's the worst diagram
how many nodes?
like, how many, like, you said 51% of, if we have to agree on it, how many is that?
Of hash power.
Of hash, oh.
Yeah,
But in
Yeah,
user
that's-
activated, it's a bit weird because
Yeah.
it's full nodes that
Yeah.
are within. There's the whole theory of economic majority
Yeah.
full nodes.
the 51% and all that is theoretical. That's why it's 51% because it's give or take. Once there's enough of the network to effectively shut down the opposition, it happens.
Yeah.
If you can make, essentially, if you can make a consensus group that has more than 50% of the hash power, you're going to end up making a longer block. You're going to end up hitting your recalculation sooner. You're going to essentially end up winning the race. The old 49%, 45% isn't going to catch up at all.
Yeah. Unless they change the rules of the blockchain, which Bcash did, but yeah.
Yeah, unless they change the rules or decide, hey, we're something different now. We're not competing with you.
Right.
We're a different block with new rules. And that's what happened with Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash came off of the main blockchain. Bitcoin Cash came off the main blockchain. They said, hey, our hash power is lower than Bitcoin. That's okay, we're not competing with them. We're something different. So that's another way you can do it. That's how you essentially execute a fork, is by saying, we are something different. All this is, of course, really theoretical stuff.
Wait.
Do you have a question, Joe?
No.
Oh. Okay. But what ended up coming out of this was user activated software didn't happen or didn't affect anything, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Because BIP 91 took place. And all people agreed, okay, we need to put this through now. And anyone who wasn't on the same page got ignored. Then everyone was on board with SegWit, everyone who mattered at least, and it happened. So this was the first part of the New York Agreement. Once the start of August rolled by, it had gone smoothly. There's some people who didn't agree. These people branched off into Bitcoin Cash, into a separate blockchain which was not competing with Bitcoin. This had a larger block size, a slightly different
signature algorithm.
signature algorithm, or difficulty adjustment, basically so they could catch up, because they weren't going to have the same hash power blockchain did. So out of this whole mess, when we weren't sure what was happening going in, came, there is Bitcoin. It has SegWit. We're following the path of the New York Agreement. We got through part one. Bitcoin Cash happened. That forked off. That's its own thing. So essentially, after this whole dumpster fire, things were going really well. Everything was going smoothly, and then it didn't. The New York Agreement, as I said earlier, the agreement that everyone came together and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to put in SegWit over the summer, and then come fall, we're going to double the blockchain size. They signed on a piece of paper. That legally can mean stuff, but in the blockchain world, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean you're going to support it. That doesn't mean you have to support it. So essentially, come November, October, November, a lot of people have problems with the SegWit 2x. The BTC1 was the organization that was running this. They have problems with their source control. They have problems with the client. They didn't like it. They had problems with that, oh, this is something different. There were people who said, hey, we don't want to double the blockchain size. I was on this mailing list, and I remember every single day coming home, reading it. There were so many people throwing arguments against, for, and things like that. It came to the point where on November 8th, the developers decided, we're done, we're not doing this. It was, I think, about a week or two away. I can't remember exactly how far away it was. But they were coming close where we were going to get the same thing again. It was going to be a giant turmoil. We were going to get another split. People are going to be angry at each other. This is just going to hurt blockchain and Bitcoin in general. So the developers decided, no, we're not doing this.
Even though they promised to.
Right. Because they promised you. The New York Agreement said that they were going to do it, but that doesn't mean anything. I think that's a lot of what Bitcoin kind of stands for, and one of the core principles of blockchain is that even though, just because you say you're going to do something unless there's a technical reason or a motivation, it might not happen. At this point, it came to the point where it's more advantageous to not do the split, so that's what they did, even though they said they weren't going to earlier. I actually remember coming home from class, reading this email. I think I forwarded it immediately to Joe saying, oh my God,
Yeah.
they canceled it.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, yeah, it came to the point where this split didn't happen. Segwit happened, part 1 happened, the 2x part did not happen. So at this point, we were done. We're done for now. There's no more giant splits. And this is what caused the price to explode because things have been so wrapped up in turmoil and infighting, and you're trying to kill Bitcoin, you're trying to steal money, like fighting for months and months. And then it was just done. So you saw, I think I had, the price went to the moon essentially. You saw a lot of things, Bitcoin is becoming more mainstream. People were, like vendors, mainstream vendors, Newegg, Steam, were accepting blockchain, or were accepting Bitcoin as payment. So you saw this huge explosion. It got, depending on your source of the price, it got almost to $20,000, which is a far stretch from the like $15 we saw earlier in Mt. Gox. So this just happened because everything calmed down. Bitcoin was usable for a while for what it was meant to be. A way that if I want to pay you, but I don't want to go through a third party, I can do that. I can do that on the blockchain. So that caused this huge spike. And that was definitely helped with positive press coverage. Things like, I remember watching CNBC, they would have specials on it all the time. People who, they still do, yeah. People who aren't in this for the technical, who don't know what a hash function is, say, hey, Bitcoin, that's pretty cool. It's the exact opposite of what you saw earlier with Mt. Gox, and the criminals using this, things like that, where that was all negative press coverage. It's, oh, this is awful, you shouldn't use this. This is just some dumb, like, 2 kids in a basement that want to spend money and free source, free open source software and stuff like that. And now it's a legitimate thing that's used by.
Open source software is a legitimate thing.
A lot of people don't view it that way. But there are people who, there are people who don't view this, who don't view blockchain as a good thing, essentially. Essentially, this came to the point where it kind of overcame that for at least a while. That investors were saying, hey, this is a thing. People saw this like going up, we should buy this. I don't care what it is, but I want it. And that kind of contributed to legitimating blockchain and Bitcoin in general. People were using this for legitimate transactions. Not that it wasn't happening all along, but people saw that this was a legitimate means of transacting money. I honestly, in my opinion, this is what Satoshi's vision originally was, but that people could use this as a cryptocurrency. So where do we stand from here? The price of Bitcoin has gone down quite a bit. We're still way above the levels like 2015, 2016, where you buy a pizza for 100,000 or for 10,000 Bitcoin. We're still at the point where there are huge big blockchain farms where there are warehouses full of ASICs that are mining Bitcoin. You can't. We've passed the point, unfortunately, where I can just run a miner on this computer and be contributing to the network and make any sort of money, not burn out my GPU. So we have gotten to a weird state where we've settled down. It's come a little bit to where it is before. It's centralized, essentially, not in any technical way, but in that there are a few people or a few organizations that effectively have control over Bitcoin because there's not the rest of the network. What we were going back to earlier was if 51% of the network is controlled by a group of people, they can essentially control it. So you have these large companies that are controlling so much hash power that they're kind of in control. We've kind of gotten to a point where this kind of decentralized free network are kind of tied up in a centralized web, which is arguably better because you're not going through a bank. But you still, to buy Bitcoin nowadays, 99% of people are going to have to buy it from a large company, from like something like Coinbase or something like that. And that's kind of similar to buying from a bank. My take on where blockchain is going. I think Bitcoin should continue to be a free and open payment network. There's a lot of people who think that that Bitcoin should just be for large transactions, that only certain people should be able to use it. If you can't pay the transaction fee to fit in that 1 megabyte block, that you don't deserve to be in there. I think that's bogus. I think that this is a way for people to make payments, and even if just in theory, even if only sometimes, go around big companies and have a way that no one's in control of what you own. I think also that blockchain is going to start being used a lot more for non-cryptocurrencies. We hear a lot of like medical companies and the Long Island iced tea company that decided to make the name of blockchain or something like that. I think you'll see a lot more of these applications realized in the coming years as people learn what it is, not just as a cryptocurrency, not just as something that's going to the moon, not something that you buy and then sell later, as a legitimate way to keep things decentralized, not in a database at a bank, not in a database on a game server. It's something that everyone kind of has control over. I think one of the main advantages of blockchain is that it's, in that it's decentralized, it forces you to make secure protocols. You can't just say, oh, nobody's probably going to guess that password or something like that. It has to be secure by design. I think that's where blockchain is going. I think that's where we're headed.
Right.
You come to a point where
What exactly are you saying?
exactly that's the problem. Right? We all kind of have this idea that like say phones. I can make my own phone. I'm not a phone manufacturer. We kind of have this idea that Apple and Android are the companies that make phones. Everyone kind of agrees with that in some way. Like it comes to a point where in my opinion, that should not be the case for a blockchain-based economy. I personally want the kind of world where I can go home and mine in my basement and make some money, and have that be realistic. And control is by control the network. I want a world where these forks are decided not by a couple of people sitting around a table, a couple of people who have a lot of miners sitting around a table, but a post on Reddit that somebody says, hey, this is a good idea. And everyone says, wow, that's a great idea, we should do that. And then a lot of people agree with it. And somebody says, hey, here's a proposal for putting this change into print. And everyone says, yeah, that's a really cool idea. And then most people agree with it and moving forward. We've come to the point where somebody says, hey, this is a great idea. And then some CEOs who run decentralized software come together and say, yeah, we're doing this. And it comes to the point where that happens. And public opinion of Bitcoin really doesn't come into effect on the main chain, really. It doesn't matter if 90% of people agree with Segwit 2x, with putting it through all the way. If enough miners thought that, then it's effectively what happens. I think the ideal proof, going back to the original question, however long ago, I think the ideal is something that can be democratic, that cannot be controlled by a small entity. I don't know if
Here's
that's
the
possible.
question though. Does in a democracy, a pure democracy is not a fair system. Why is that?
Because it takes away rights. Are you talking about like the Republican
Minority rights.
Minority right. I mean,
That
you're on a blockchain, there's not.
minority and individual rights are the reason why an unlimited democracy is not ideal. Because in an unlimited democracy, you simply say, whatever the majority says, that's what we're going to do. And if the majority says, we're going to enslave the other 49% of people, then that's what you've got to do. That's why
That's why you have like a republic to kind of prevent that.
So the Democratic Republic, okay. Well, a republic is designed.
We should pull this an after discussion.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of
In the context of blockchain, what you really have to do is you have to define define who are the stakeholders and what is the relative weight of each stakeholder.
And that's something that it's almost impossible to do. Then again, we thought it was impossible to beat double spending attacks, which is what kind of why Bitcoin exists.
Well, it is possible to do. It's just that in Bitcoin, it so happens that the stakes are divided up among who has the most hash power. Whereas in a proof of stake system, it's who has the most existing coins.
Right.
That are being staked.
The difference between those being in a proof of work system, it has a link to the real world economy through the mining equipment and electricity costs. But in a proof of stake system, there really is no such link, so that
No, there is a link.
that leads to
It's still
the,
who has
No,
money.
No, there's opportunity cost, Hector.
the opportunity cost is not, I'm saying it's not linked to like a real asset,
No, it is. No, it is.
which is what?
Physical asset.
It doesn't matter. It's still, that money could be either put in investment A or staked.
No, because see, the problem is with a proof of stake, you have the nothing at stake problem. Okay.
But we're trying to solve it with like Casper and
that
stuff
is
like that.
That is the issue that defines proof of stake.
I think it's better because like I currently have zero say in the Bitcoin market right now. I would have to get an actual say, at least even not a theoretical say, I'd have to buy an ASIC. That's cost prohibitive for me. Whereas if proof of stake would even be better to like so I can put money in it.
Can I change the background real quick while we continue talking?
What's up with to what?
Can I change what's on the screen?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Oh no.
Okay.
Noticeably? That's nice.
Oh no.
Touch the thing and you'll see that.
Which one is physical buffer escape?
Yeah.
How
Come
often
on.
do you use that?
Come on.
Virtual keyboard.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have questions while we're reading this?
We should start to close up and just have discussions.
Huh?
We should start to close up the official meeting and have just.
Yeah, I more
Before
just
the official meeting ends, though, we've got an announcement that's gonna be at the next meeting.
Yes.
Sergio, how do I press F11?
He's right where I lived in the summer.
That's
That's low tide.
Wait, you lived there?
I lived up a few blocks in Del Rey, and that's low tide.